Thanks for joining me today. You look absolutely beautiful. Today we're going to be discussing Mortal Kombat 12's roster size and looking at previous entries in the series as well as Injustice to determine what that roster size is likely to be. It's me and you, let's give it a go. Think about the most important aspects of a fighting game, specifically Mortal Kombat in this case. Let's use the food pyramid template as an example. On the bottom is your foundation. In this case, that's the gameplay. It's the most essential part to a balanced and healthy Mortal Kombat bowl of Kanos. If a game isn't fun to play, nothing else matters. Nobody will want to play it. But just above that is the roster. The characters included in the game bring an immense excitement and satisfaction to the overall experience. Having fun with a character you love is worlds apart from having fun with a character you feel indifferent about. It takes a good experience and truly makes it special. A huge factor in enabling that possibility for as many as possible is the size of the roster. Without fail, every time a new game is on the horizon, one of the most speculated on aspects is how big will the initial roster be? How many slots will be on the select screen the first time we lay eyes on it? Well, let's take a look at the last several Mortal Kombat and Injustice games and see if we can determine what Mortal Kombat 12's roster size is most likely to be. Now, I need to quickly ask all of you one simple question, and that is, are you a Mortal Kombat fan? Because if so, how are you not subscribed to this channel? What are you waiting for? You do not want to miss this journey to Mortal Kombat 12 where we're releasing videos just like this, as well as podcasts where we deep dive into discussions on Mortal Kombat's history, its future, the characters, the lore, the gameplay. We cover it all, and I don't think you're going to find anybody more knowledgeable on the subject than the people right on this channel. So help us get to 50,000 subscribers by Mortal Kombat 12 by subscribing, and also by liking this video. Liking this video means more people will be able to see it. That being said, let's get back to the show. I think a fair starting point is Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, since it was the first fully 3D console Mortal Kombat akin to what we receive today. Deadly Alliance had a roster of 23 characters. Next up, we have Mortal Kombat Deception. Deception upped the roster count to 24 characters. This is not including the later released GameCube exclusives Goro and Shao Kahn. From there, we're going to skip Mortal Kombat Armageddon, as that was an all-in roster with a lot of reused assets, not representative of a typical Mortal Kombat roster experience, thus it would unfairly skew the numbers. So let's jump to Mortal Kombat vs. DC, which had a roster size of 22. It was also revealed that it would likely receive 2 DLC characters in Quan Chi and Harley Quinn, but these plans were ultimately cancelled due to Midway going bankrupt. From there, we have Mortal Kombat 9 with a roster of 28 including Kratos, then later had 4 DLC characters to bring it up to a total of 32. With Injustice 1, we received a starting roster size of 24 and an eventual DLC offering of 6 additional characters for a total of 30. Next up is MKX with a starting roster of 25, and then 8 characters released as DLC for a total of 33. Injustice 2 then had a bigger initial roster of 29 characters, likely due to legacy gameplay making it easier to not start completely from scratch like we typically do with Mortal Kombat. Then they added 9 characters as DLC for a total roster of 38. And finally, we had Mortal Kombat 11 matching MKX's initial roster of 25, but would then go on to produce the most DLC characters we have yet to receive, and that was 12, which makes a total roster of 37. So from these numbers, one thing is for sure, initial roster doesn't steadily increase from game to game, but there has been a trend where we receive more DLC characters with each game. If you average all of the initial roster sizes, we land at 26 characters. Should we expect 26 characters for Mortal Kombat 12? Before we can settle on that, it is worth noting that there are extra factors at play with the numbers. For instance, the last 2 Mortal Kombat games have featured multiple variations for each character, which undoubtedly takes up more development time, such as additional motion capture, animation, and balancing. With MK12, as covered in my previous video, it's very unlikely that we will see variations return, so perhaps a starting roster size closer to MK9 is more accurate, which, just as a reminder, was 28 characters. Then you have to account for the extra development time. Typically, it's been around a 2-year development cycle for the last few games. This time, however, it'll likely have been a 4-year development cycle, if not longer, so double the time that they usually have. Unfortunately though, it's not that simple. We don't know if they originally started making MK12 after MK11, or if they started it midway through development on Injustice 3 due to the merging of WB and Discovery. There were rumors that that played a part in why we may be getting MK12 next instead of Injustice 3. Then you add in COVID complications that many companies were not prepared for, such as how to do everything you need to do for your job but do it from home. And there's been more awareness on the ramifications of crunch, which means lessening crazy working hours to improve conditions for the developers. And lastly, there's also been talks of a new engine, which in itself can complicate things and add to the development time. All of this likely has played a factor in how long the game is taking to make this time around, so I don't think we can safely jump to the conclusion that more development time means a bigger roster. But those are many of the likely factors in play, both the potential positives as well as the negatives. Which leads us back to the original question: what should we expect for Mortal Kombat 12's roster size? Do I think it'll be bigger than MKX and MK11's 25 characters? Yes. Going back to a standard moveset for each character and not featuring variations should hopefully see an uptick in roster size. I also think the longer development time will still result in a small increase in roster size as well, even with the other elements playing their factors, eating into that time. So if I had to take a guess, I think we could see as many as 30 on the starting roster, even though that may be on the more optimistic side. If you want to play it safe, you can't go wrong expecting 24 or 25, which would then lead me to believe that that's likely our range. Anywhere from 24 to 30 characters at the start seems reasonable, and with the consistent increase in support for each game as well as more DLC characters each time around, I think we'll get more than 12 characters, and we could see a final roster of 40 characters or more. Thanks everybody for tuning in to today's video. I hope you let me know down below in the comments what sort of roster size you're looking forward to and how important that is to you based on Mortal Kombat's history and the favorite characters that we're all pulling for. That being said, if you haven't had enough Mortal Kombat in your life, we do have a Discord as well, so check that out in the description. We're constantly engaging with our community, talking about all facets of Mortal Kombat. Make sure to like the video, and I will see you guys next time.
Really